Good morning. Here it is, Wednesday morning, 9 o'clock. It is great to be with you one more time on the Ryan Crossley Show. Talking about politics, talking about what's going on in our world. Hopefully making you think a little bit. And that's our purpose today. Welcome. Open up your mind. Open up your heart. And let's learn something. Let's look at what's going on in this world. And so much going on. So much to get through. I know we're not going to get through it all. I just want to give a shout out to all of those that connect to this program. Please share it with other people so they can watch it also. And we can try and make a difference in this world. You ask, what can we do? Well, we can be a voice. It's our time to be a voice. It's our time to say something. Big problem right now, nobody's saying anything. No, that's not true. So many people are starting to step up. I think personally that Americans are fed up. That's actually what I think. I think Americans have gotten to a point where they're just fed up. Are you fed up? I'm fed up. I am. I'm fed up. I'm just like, come on now. What are we doing and what are we accepting here? So I think it's good. Maybe the left has overplayed its hand. I hope it has. I hope people are waking up and realizing that the country has been headed in a bad direction for the last 10 months. So I just want to say I hope the fed upness, if I can put it that way, I hope the fed upness causes change. We need change desperately. We are kind of losing it on the world stage. So many things are happening right now. They're testing us. We are being tested. If you don't think we're being tested, please just pay attention to what Russia and China are doing. It's a little embarrassing. I don't know if you watched the video, the little bit. Did you realize? You realized? I hope everybody realized that they didn't show us very much of the conversation. In fact, all we got was kind of like the first part, the intro of the conversation between Vlad and Joe. They didn't really show us very much more. And I can tell you why. Did you pay attention to the few seconds that we watched? I mean, it took him. This is just simply the greeting. Like, happy to see you. Good to talk with you. And if you watch just those few seconds, I was trying to get more yesterday, but if you watch just the first few seconds of President Biden greeting Vladimir, you can see Vladimir kind of sitting back. He's obviously, Putin's always got the eternal smirk on his face, like he knows something you don't know. And if you watch just the first few seconds of our dear president greeting Vladimir Putin, you would have saw what I saw, and that was that he was already tripping all over himself and not getting his words out right or being coherent. So it would absolutely, I'm sure that if we had the entire video of the 2-hour conversation, I'm sure that we would repeatedly see times where he would be incoherent, times where it'd just be flat out embarrassing. Because if that's what happened in the greeting, I mean, go watch it. Go watch it. Please go watch it and tell me that he doesn't kind of trip up over himself trying to greet Putin. And he does. And so can you imagine 2 hours of conversation? So there's a lot going on right now in the world. The United States is being tested. This administration is being tested. The world does not respect us the way they did a year and a half ago. They don't respect us. As much as you might not have liked Donald Trump, everybody thought that Donald Trump was going to be terrible on foreign policy. Do you remember that? You remember everybody saying that because he had no political experience and because he had, he had no experience with this type of interaction with foreign dignitaries and all of that. The big thing that was that he was going to be absolutely terrible on foreign policy and that it was going to be a disaster. Well, the opposite was true. Donald Trump went with the old adage, which is peace through strength. And I believe that works. I believe that peace through strength works when the strength is in the hand of people that want to maintain peace and want to maintain an idea of democracy in the world. Now, when the strength, and the reason we're in a dangerous place right now, when the strength is in the hands of those that want to rule the world, when the strength is in the hands of those that want to, for example, put 187,000 troops on the border of Ukraine to threaten basically a takeover, when the power is in those hands, it's dangerous because it's destructive. It causes a lot of death and when the power is in those hands, it is dangerous. So strength in the wrong hands is dangerous. Strength in the right hands can bring balance and peace. And the United States, for many, many years, has been able to maintain things kind of in order in the world. I don't believe we should be the world's policeman. I'm not a proponent of that at all. I do not believe we should be the world's policeman. I think that just stretches our resources very, very thin. I believe in America first. I believe in that wholeheartedly. But on the world stage with our NATO allies and with our friends, we have got to understand that peace comes through strength. And Donald Trump did that very well. Everybody thought he's going to get us into a war with North Korea. And even Trump would even call him Rocket Boy and all these kind of things. But he didn't get us into a war with North Korea. Everybody thought he was going to get us into a war with China or Russia. He didn't get us into a war with China or Russia. In all honesty, Donald Trump's foreign policy worked wonderfully, especially when you compare it to, let's say the Obama years. Do you remember the disasters that were Benghazi, the disasters that were Russia with Crimea, which is coming all back up into the news right now? So don't knock Donald Trump on his foreign policy. He did very well. He did very, very well on his foreign policy. And obviously, he was able to achieve peace through strength. The other thing that I would like to say about Trump's years is there was not one single terrorist attack in our nation. It didn't happen. So let's paint the picture, okay? I think it's important to paint the picture. 4 years of a man who the left called a tyrant, a dictator, a totalitarian, a lunatic, a man out of control. Every name in the book, every phobia you want to name. I get so tired. Anybody else tired of the whole phobia thing? Phobia is fear of. When you say phobia, xenophobe, homophobe, all of these phobes, you're saying fear of. That's such a misnomer. It's so wrong. It's not that you fear anything. It's sometimes you don't agree with certain thoughts, policies, or ideologies. But Trump got called every single name in the book. Everybody thought he was just an out-of-control maniac. And yet, peace internationally, Do you not remember what was being brokered in the Middle East between Israel and various Arab nations? It was a first. It was a first. So don't come and say that somehow he was bad on foreign policy. He's actually a genius in a lot of ways, the way that he handled it. And here we are. If there's any contrast, folks, if there's any contrast with it, it's what's going on right now. First of all, the pullout of Afghanistan was an embarrassing disaster on the world stage. So much so that we left our allies hanging, that we lost their confidence. It's a miracle if they want to do anything with us now, and I think they're going to be cautiously optimistic that maybe they can work with us on some of these things. In some cases, they may not have much more of a choice. But we lost the respect of these countries on the world stage with the way that we pulled out of Afghanistan. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but if you haven't, you should. Go on YouTube and Google and search for, not Google, but if you go on YouTube and search for Taliban parade with American military equipment, it's an absolute, I mean, it just angers me. And I know we don't even talk about Afghanistan anymore, but there's still people over there because of the disastrous way that we pulled out of there. And they did a parade down the streets of Kabul with all of the American military equipment that we left, $80+ billion worth of equipment. Remember how they said, well, they won't be able to fly the helicopters? Remember that? You know, we disabled the helicopters. They won't be able to fly them. Baloney. Go and watch the video. Go watch the video of the parade in Kabul, and you're going to see the helicopters that supposedly they weren't going to be able to fly. You're going to see those helicopters flying over as the Taliban parades down the street with our equipment. Meaning, if we ever had to go back into Afghanistan, we are going to be shot at with our own equipment that we put in their hands. How embarrassing. What a disaster. And so what does that lead to? It's a sign of weakness. It shows weakness. And I hate to say it because, you know, we're dyed-in-the-wool Americans. We're born in the USA, good old, you know, that's who we are. And so we don't want to see America weak. And I think that's what bothers me right now, is to see America weak on the world stage. These other nations, sometimes, can I say this without insulting anybody? I don't want to make anybody misunderstand what I'm saying. I grew up in another country, okay? I grew up in Argentina. Now, Argentina was a great place to grow up in. Some of the best food in the world, bar none. I grew up there, and my parents were missionaries there for 29 years. So we were there a long time, and I was there all through my childhood, adolescent years, until I went to seminary, to Bible school in Indianapolis. And I will tell you something that maybe you don't understand about the foreign view or the global view of America. In fact, I'm going to put it this way. I believe that the relationship between other nations and the United States of America for many, many years, for decades, has been what I call a love-hate relationship. I really believe that. I believe the best way to describe it is that there is a love-hate relationship between other nations and the United States. What do I mean by that? I think that for decades, for a long, long time, the love relationship is that that desire to have what we have, the desire to even come to this country. There is no country that is more desirable to go to for the future of your life and the future of your kids than the United States of America. People give everything up to come to the United States of America. They risk their lives. They leave family without the promise of ever being able to go back. That's the love relationship with the United States through, and even more now through technology. I know, folks, from growing up overseas, how people they desire. It's kind of like the mecca of freedom to come to the United States of America, and so that's that love relationship. They love what the USA represents in the world. They love the things that come out of the USA. A lot of it is maybe not so much product, 'cause most product comes from China now, but just what the United States represents and the values that we hold and the things, the freedom that we have. There we go. That's the love relationship, is the freedom that we have. That's the big thing. I remember growing up and people, desiring to come to the States because of all of the beautiful things that they could see and the positivity of what life could be here. But that quickly, it turns to hate. And you say, are you kidding me? No, I'm not kidding you. It's a two-sided coin with other nations. It's the love of what we have, what we represent, who we are, the liberties we have in the United States. I'm talking like things, even things that we have here, that you don't even realize until you go overseas. The facilities that we have, the way our highway system works, the way our shopping works, the peace that we feel, and the safety. One of the big things is safety. People feel very safe here. Now, I know that's changing for us in the States, but we need to fight for that because people feel safe when they're here. That's one of the things that people comment on. Wow, it just feels safe, So that's the love aspect. But the other side of the coin is the part that is the hate, which is it's that, if I can put it this way, it's the jealousy, it's the envy, it's the fact that sometimes when you are the superpower of the world, you throw your weight around because you can. You can be a little arrogant. I'm not saying it's right, but you can be a little arrogant. You can be a little pushy. You can fight for your interests a little bit more than you fight for the interest of others. And so that's one of the things that happens, is there's this hatred that comes with what you have. Have you ever, I don't get this wrong, but have you ever, you see somebody else get something and you want to be happy for them, but the truth is you want it yourself. And so there's this jealousy. And you've got to understand that these countries, they love us until they hate us. And that is what happens many, many times. I remember in Argentina, growing up there, seeing written on the walls, Yankees go home. That was the big, when I was a kid, that was the big thing, Yankees go home. It was that hatred that came from the United States just kind of throwing its weight around whenever it wanted to, And so with that being said, what happens, here's the question, what happens when the United States no longer is the superpower, no longer is the economic power, and we are heading that way light speed right now with the administration that is in place, with the way that we're spending money, and we are no longer a nation that produces, we're just a nation that consumes. Part of Donald Trump's idea was to bring companies back to the United States, to deregulate so many things. I think it was for every new regulation you had to eliminate 6. And he got rid of a bunch of regulations. He was trying to bring it back to the States so that we would be productive here and be productive in a way to where companies would find that it made sense to stay here instead of going and looking for cheap labor in other places. Think about it. how cheap the labor must be able to go set up all of your stuff in China, Mexico, wherever it may be, and then produce things there and ship them all the way across and spend all the money that you do in the transport of things. And it lets you know how wide the gap is in what it costs to produce here in the United States and what it costs to produce overseas. But we are very quickly, I want you to pay attention to what I'm saying. We are very quickly losing our grip and losing our position as the superpower of the world. And Russia knows it, and China knows it. And they are testing this administration right now because they know that it's weak. They know that they did nothing before, and they're hoping they will do nothing now. I think it's funny. I don't know. Did you pay attention to the press conference? The National Security Advisor came out yesterday, and you know, I don't know if you think the way that I do, but one of the ways that I think is if somebody overemphasizes something, or they mention the same thing over and over and over, you begin to doubt that very thing, you know? It's like when somebody's telling you a story and they, if I was telling you something and I'll say, I wasn't running, and I keep talking, I said, I wasn't running, well, after a moment, you're going to start thinking, he was running. And I thought it was funny yesterday when the National Security Advisor came out. In the few moments that he spoke before Jen Psaki come up, circle back girl, before she came up, he repeatedly said, the president was very firm. He was very stern. He was very straightforward. He was very direct. Then he'd talk a little bit more. And I just want to reiterate that the president was very firm, that he was very, it was repeated, not one, not two, not three, I mean, multiple times. And it's like he knew, the National Security Advisor knew this is a problem. Our president nobody believes that he was firm with Vladimir Putin. And so after about the fourth or fifth time of him repeating that, I thought, I just kind of got this feeling maybe he's really trying to make up for what we know about Joe Biden in these kind of situations, and not just what we know about Joe Biden, but what we know about Vladimir Putin. Now, I do want to mention something. If you have time to do this, I don't want to use the video because when we use videos, I haven't. We've been censored, and so I'm trying to not get censored and not violate any rules, and we're still working on all those kind of things. But one of the things very interesting, if you can do it, go watch. It's about a 36-minute video, and it's the Wall Street Journal conference. Wall Street Journal conference is going on, and they interview Elon Musk, and the lady that's interviewing. Of course, the room is full of very important people, CEOs, and all of that sort of thing. But I like listening to Elon Musk. I think he's kind of like the Steve Jobs of our generation, the Bill Gates of our generation, as far as his mind and the things that he's going to bring to the forefront, invent, the things that he's doing, which is multifaceted. I've said Elon Musk is kind of like underground, on the ground, and above the ground. He's doing tunnels, he's doing Tesla, and he's doing SpaceX. So when you have a man that is involved in all of these aspects, we're talking about really tunneling, trying to do that to alleviate traffic. I think he's actually working on something here in Fort Lauderdale, if I'm not mistaken. And then Tesla, electric cars. And then, of course, SpaceX, where he actually wants to put a colony on Mars and see if we can colonize Mars. Whenever somebody thinks that way and they're innovated and they do accomplish some of their things, I think that it's very interesting to listen to them. And so the Wall Street Journal was doing an interview with him during their conference, and the lady that's interviewing him does a good job, and he's just answering kind of the present world, what he's doing now, and then the future. She asks him about that in the future, and there's so many interesting things. His view of government, and especially when he's talking about this bill, the infrastructure bill and everything that just we've been dealing with. Very interesting to see his view as a billionaire, very wealthy man, and there's been moments where he's been the wealthiest man in the world. His view on government is basically that government needs to stop spending. He said something very interesting. He said you could zero out every billionaire. You could zero out every billionaire. You know, this whole thing about that the rich don't pay enough taxes. It was very interesting to hear him say his taxation is almost at 53%. So that's pretty amazing when you think a guy that makes the amount of money that Elon Musk makes, 53% of that is he's paying taxes. Is 53% is taxes. That's a lot. He said, for example, that's not something trivial. It's not something small and insignificant. That's a lot of money. And one of the things that he was talking about was that the government needs to stop spending. We basically, in what is the federal budget, we outspend ourselves by at least $3 trillion a year. So that would be a company that's going in debt $3 trillion every year. No company could function that way. They wouldn't let you function that way as an individual. And it was just very interesting, his comments about that and his point of views. He basically was saying leave it up to the private sector, and the government should more act. What he said was the government should be more like a referee that's on a referee, but not a player on the field. And I thought that was quite interesting and quite accurate, because I think that's really what the original intention of the founding fathers would have been. But so I want you to go, if you have time to do it, go watch the interview that he does. I think it might even be titled Tesla, the biggest robot company, because he told the interviewer that he wanted Tesla to be viewed that way, as the biggest robot company, not car company. So I thought that was interesting, because he's thinking of taking the same concepts of the Tesla car and putting it into what would be robotics, like almost like an AI robot. But anyhow, that was all very interesting in the interview. But at the very end, and this is what captured my attention, at the very, very end of the interview, he said something. He said, the United States has been the economic superpower of the world for the last 120, 130 years, is what he said. Now, this is Elon Musk talking, and I thought it was very interesting. He said, the United States has been the economic superpower for the last 120 to 130 years. And then he said, but we have got to be ready now for the fact that China, and this is what he said, this is coming from somebody that deals directly with China all the time. He said China is going to have an economy, is on path very quickly to have an economy that is 2 to 3 times the size of the U.S. economy. In other words, the U.S. will be relegated to basically a kind of indifference from the Chinese, because they will be 2 to 3 times greater than us in economy. And I had thought a little bit, what has made the United States a superpower? Two things I would say make the United States a superpower: economy and military. When you have the strongest economy and you have the strongest military, you can be the world's superpower. If you lose one of those things and you are quickly losing in the other area, which we have found out now by the hypersonic missiles that China is doing compared to what we have, they've already beat us. We are losing the position of economic superpower, and we are losing the position of military superpower. Now, some people might say, so what? It's somebody else's turn. But what Elon Musk said, and this is what you have to think about, is this. He said, when you become the world superpower like the U.S. has been, you're kind of like the big kid or the big bully on the block. And you really don't care about everybody else because they can't affect you. You don't worry about them. And so everybody else kind of has to deal with your treatment of them in one way or the other. Now, for the last 120, 130 years, as the United States has been the world superpower, the way that the U.S. has acted, not always, okay, the United States has definitely, many times, proven over and over that it acts in its own interests, which any nation would. But the thing that the United States has never really tried to do is take over other nations, impose its will just because it wants to militarily. Most of the time we are working with our allies. We are working, and some of that is self-interest, like, for example, oil, different materials, different things that we need. But as far as doing what some of these other nations would do if they're the big kid on the block, we haven't done that. We're not like what Russia is doing right now before Ukraine. We haven't done that. We've never lined up hundreds of thousands of troops on the border of Mexico and try and take over Mexico, or try and take over Canada. We work together with them and allies in Europe. But what Musk said that was interesting, he said, our hope has to be that when China, because it's inevitable, when China becomes the big kid on the block, which it's already pretty much there, and they are the big bully, will they act in the same way that the United States has acted? Will they act in such a way where they will treat others as they would want to be treated if they weren't the big bully on the block? And I thought that was such an interesting thing because, and here's why, because there is high doubts that would be the case. If China or Russia is not so much in that position because Russia's economy is not that large, and Russia's economy is in really bad shape. But China is not. China is not in bad shape economically. They own a huge part of our debt and the world's debt. So they are very strong economically, and they are very strong militarily because they kind of go hand in hand. There is very high doubts in my mind that when China becomes the superpower, which is we're on the brink of that, people. Do you understand that we are on the brink of that? When Trump was going all out against China, he was not making a mistake. He was trying to level the playing field a little bit more. He was trying to maybe delay, because until things are produced here and until we help companies not have to fight so much through regulations, what Trump was trying to do was put the United States back in a fighting chance against China. Of course, Biden just reversed all of that, and even with Russia too. We have no cards in our deck right now, really, that we can play. We've given all that up. But Trump was doing that because he also knows what China can become. So let's hope, I guess our hope is that China will act well. Good luck. I hope that happens. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that we are going to see a lot of power shifts, and I think we're going to kind of be a little bit behind the curve to be able to do much about it. We're going to stop for station identification, and we will be right back here on the Ryan Crossley Show here on Radio La Roca 106.3 FM.
This is WIPULP, Pembroke Pines, Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale, The Rock Church.
Estás escuchando Radio La Roca 106.3 FM. Radio La Roca.
So we are back here, the Ryan Crossley Show, 106.3 FM, Radio La Roca. Just glad to have you with us today. I do want to reach out to some that have connected on Facebook and also on YouTube. Javier Mejia, Gabby Moran, Michelle Franco, we love you guys. Also, Berita Mazariego, Sylvia Laguna, the Arequipa family, Mauricio Garzon, Segundo Wilfredo from Ecuador, and Julie Cardenas from Madison, Wisconsin. So glad you're connected. Lorenzo Arriaga, Raul Miguel. We're so glad that you guys are connected to this show. We're excited. We're excited. And share this with others. A lot of people follow my show on Tuesdays. Obviously, being a Spanish church pastor and doing as much as we do in Spanish, most people, a lot of people follow our Spanish stuff on Tuesdays. We have our political show on Tuesday from 7 to 9. But we started this about 2.5 months ago, maybe 3. The Ryan Crossley Show, Wednesday mornings from 9 to 10. So share it with your friends, just tell them to watch it. And we're going to keep trying to help people and educate them. I do want to share, I want to change a little bit, shift a little bit to what we're dealing with this Omicron, with the Omicron variant. Anybody paying attention to the Omicron variant? In Fox News, there was something that my wife found that absolutely infuriated me. And if you did this to me, I don't know what this mama's going to do, but if you did this to me, I would be absolutely fuming. I don't know if you knew that this happened or not, but a California mom, now this was in the news, so I'm going based on what they've reported. A California mom claims that her 13-year-old son was told not to say anything after being given the COVID-19 vaccine in exchange for pizza at his school without her consent. Are you stinking kidding me? Given the COVID vaccine in exchange for pizza at his school without her consent. This is according to a local report. This is on Fox News. Maribel Duarte told NBC Los Angeles on Monday that her son recently came home from, well, this, sometimes things are too good to be true. Wait until I read it. You'll understand what I'm saying. Sometimes some things, they can't get any funnier. Maribel Duarte told NBC Los Angeles on Monday that her son recently came home from Barack Obama. That makes sense now, right? Global Prep Academy. Barack Obama Global Prep Academy in South Los Angeles with a vaccine card telling her that he accepted the shot after he was offered pizza. Oh, my word. At the Barack Obama Global Prep Academy in South Los Angeles, they vaccinated, according to this report, a 13-year-old because they offered him pizza and they never contacted the parent for consent. And I do remember I was blown away. I was flabbergasted by this. I mean, there's just things that are happening that are just like, are you kidding me? And when my wife showed me this story, I thought, my goodness, without her consent. But then she reminded me that they had been fighting for that. Gavin Newsom fought for that way back in California, for kids to be able to be vaccinated without parental consent. Now, I don't know if it passed or not. Doesn't matter. 13 years old, no parental consent for a pizza. This is what Duarte said. She said, it hurt to know he got a shot without my permission, without knowing, and without signing any papers for him to get the shot. And now she's vaccinated. She's not anti-vaccine. So her point of view is she's kind of upset with him that he got a shot without her permission, but also, the fact that they never called her, she didn't have to sign any papers or anything for him to get the shot. The mother told the station that the woman who gave her son the shot and signed the paper, which means this other woman signed the paper for him, told him, please, watch this, please don't say anything. I don't want to get in trouble. Well, there you go. There you go. There you know you're not doing the right thing. Please don't say nothing. I don't want to get in trouble. You know the first words that came to my mind? Lawsuit. I would sue the pants off of that school, and I would sue the pants off of that lady. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The child's school is a part of the Los Angeles Unified School District, the second largest in the U.S., which, by the way, saw enrollment drop by more than 27,000 or 6% at the start of the school year amid a vaccine mandate, there you go, for kids over 12 years old. The district told the station that while it can't comment on student matters, it does follow a quote-unquote Safe Schools to Safe Steps incentive program that is meant to ensure measures are set for vaccinated students to get prizes. What's your big prize today, son? You got vaccinated. I got a pizza, Mom. It was probably a cheapo $5 Little Caesars pizza. I mean, if I'm the parent, I'll be like, son, I'll buy you a pizza every day. Don't take the vaccine. Are you kidding me? What does this country come to? That lady needs to go to jail. That lady needs to go to jail to tell a child, hey, please don't tell anyone. I don't want to get in trouble. You know that you have to notify the parent. That's ridiculous. Juanita Diaz says the state of Texas Health Department has consent forms for parents to sign. What kind of agency did the vaccinations? As far as I know, it looks like they're just doing them there at the school. So I don't know. Let's see. Let's continue in the report and see if there's an answer there, Juanita. An LAUSD spokesperson told Fox News Digital on Monday morning that it was currently unable to confirm that this incident occurred at Barack Obama Global Preparatory Academy. Of course, they're not going to be able to confirm it. With the January 10th, 2022 student vaccination deadline approaching, which means, watch that. So that means all the students, man, I tell you, you want to know why the enrollment declined by 27,000? Doesn't that say something to you? 27,000 students are saying, we're not coming back to your school because you're wanting to vaccinate us. Which, by the way, vaccinating the children, I have no problem going on record with this kind of stuff. Vaccinating the children is the most ridiculous power grab of all times that I've known here in the United States since I've been alive. There is literally no greater risk for a child with the COVID stuff than there is for a common flu in a year. The statistics prove it out. The numbers prove it out. I know I'm right. I've done the research on the CDC's own data. You can look at it. There is zero. Listen to me. Zero reason to be vaccinating children. Zero. Especially when we don't know the long-term effects of the vaccine, especially when the big pharma companies do not even have to tell you they have proprietary immunity, which means that there is things that they put in the vaccine that they don't have to report. Nobody knows. And we do not know the long-term effects of this. I don't care what you think of me. I'm not anti-vaccine for stuff that I know has been proven over decades, which normally is what happens. And knowing that this is not even a true vaccine, it's an mRNA, it doesn't last. Why? We're going to have to be getting boosters for the rest of our lives every 4 to 6 months, according to people now. It's ridiculous. There is zero, absolute zero reason to have to vaccinate children. And yet here they have a deadline, January 10th, 2022, to vaccinate all the children. It's absolutely insane. It's a power grab, folks. It's I'm sorry, it's communistic. It is communistic. When the state is controlling people's lives, man, I'm fired up right now. I'm so ticked off. When the state is controlling people's lives, you want to know? You want to know what angers me? Let me tell you a little quick story. My wife yesterday, or no, not my wife. I'm sorry. I was talking to my mom yesterday. I just gave her a quick call to see how she was doing, and she is in the state of Oregon. What a great bastion of liberty is Oregon right now. And I was born there, so don't think that anything beyond that. But I was born there. But you know what happened? My mom was speaking to a lady, and they hit it off. The lady was just immediately connected to my parents. My parents are 70 years old. By the way, my dad had COVID, 70 years old, never vaccinated, came through okay, thank you, Jesus. But she connected to my parents, and just kind of, I don't know, maybe she just needed that, that elder presence in her life. She's mid-30s, excuse me. And so they connected. This lady works with my sister, and they invited them. I want you to listen to me. Please listen to me. They invited her over to eat at the house, and they were talking, and she just, latched on to my dad. It was almost like she was just thirsty and hungry for that connection. And come to find out, the reason why is her dad died just recently. He died. And do you know why he died? And this is what the girl told my parents. The reason he died was because he had worked for a company for decades, faithful wage earner for his family, a provider, worked all his life. He's in the latter stages of his life. Imagine if his daughter's 36 years old. He was getting ready, to kind of go into the sunset of life. And you know what happened? Because of the stupid vaccine mandates. And I don't pull no punches on this. They're absolutely idiotic. Because of the stupid vaccine mandates, he was fired, and he got so depressed and didn't know what he was going to do. Because you know what's happening to a lot of these people? You know what's happening to a lot of these people that are getting fired? It's one thing when a company lets you go. When a company lets you go, they give you like a severance pay. They maybe give you your retirement, but at a certain percentage. But when they fire these people, they're losing their pensions. They're losing their retirement. They're losing their security. They're losing any kind of hope they have. They've worked their whole stinking lives to be able to prepare for the future. And because of a vaccine mandate that is unconstitutional irrational, and ridiculous. These people are being fired from their jobs because they don't want the vaccine. The man is in his elderly age. Just let him be. Let him make his own choice. He's probably thinking, you know what, if I get COVID, so be it. But he ought to have that choice. But no, he got fired. Depression set in, hopelessness set in, and the man committed suicide. Committed suicide because he got fired from his job because of a vaccine mandate. That's not in the news, is it? That's not being reported, is it? I wonder right now. I mean, thousands. I have people in my church that I'm talking to that are facing these vaccine mandates. And it's ridiculous that they're facing it here in Florida because DeSantis has fought against that. And any companies, you know what, if they're requiring you a vaccine mandate here in Florida, call the governor's office and figure out what you can do to fight it, because DeSantis is going to fine those companies. He has said so. And you need to fight it and sue it. Don't lose your job. Don't lose your retirement. Don't lose your pension because of this stuff. But I'd love to see this. Maybe I wouldn't, because it would be so saddening. But thousands upon thousands of people, if not close to millions now, are leaving their jobs or losing their jobs because they're saying, no, this is an infringement on my liberty. How ridiculous is it now with this Omicron variant, which everybody is saying is very mild, not one death yet. And yet, it's not a knee-jerk reaction, okay? It's not even a reaction. It's a power grab. They know exactly what they're doing. Bill de Blasio knows exactly what he's doing. You know, now all of a sudden you're going to be real concerned. And so they're by December 27th, even in the private sector, everybody's got to be vaccinated. Bye-bye, Bill. Bye-bye, New York. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, are they going to start doing this? You know, I mean, let's be honest. If you wanted to, you could start doing that with the flu. Flu kills tens of thousands of people every year, although not now because it's only COVID. People only die of COVID now. I'm sorry. It makes me so angry. It does. It just really makes me so angry. And what makes me angry is anybody who's got half a brain can logically see the procession of things. You know, if you want to go get vaccinated, go get vaccinated. But it should be a person's choice. And they should not lose their job. And we shouldn't be manipulating 13-year-old children with a pizza. Can't believe this stuff. January 10th, 2022, a deadline approaching. The district introduced the Safe Schools to Safe Steps incentive program throughout Los Angeles Unified Schools. The spokesperson said this program offers incentives to families. Oh, really? Then why didn't they contact the mama who upload proof of their vaccine, have an approved medical exemption, or have conditional admissions? You know, when they have to bribe you to do something. Spokesperson said that the school has an overall vaccination rate of over 80%, adding that vaccinations are an essential part of the multi-layered protection. I'm so tired of this stuff. An essential part of the multi-layered protection against COVID-19 that will enable students to stay healthy for in-person learning. You know what? You know what society is? You know what's happening, folks? The Great Reset, the globalists, that they want to be your redeemer. They want to be your, in fact, you know what this actually is a shadow of? You ready? You know what this is a shadow of? It's a shadow of the state believing and actually imposing policies to where your children are wards of the state before they are yours. And that's where socialism goes. Your kids, to where I could totally see it, to where they would say parents that don't want to get their kids vaccinated, they have to have their kids taken away from them because they're being irresponsible with the kids' health. It's child abuse. You think that's very far away? It's not very far away at all. It's just one step away, because that's how ridiculous this stuff is. The LAUSD announced in September that all students 12 years of age or older will be required to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 by January 10th, 2022. What does it matter? In 4 to 6 months, they got to get a booster. If not, they're not going to be vaccinated. They're not going to be considered fully vaccinated, because that goalpost shifts all the time. What does fully vaccinated mean? You can hear Little Mouse Fauci. Little Mouse Fauci, because he looks like a little mouse. Little Mouse Fauci, well, what is being fully vaccinated? Well, we believe now they got to have 1, 2 boosters. The goalposts are going to move all the time. And you got to wake up. Students who remain unvaccinated without an exemption will be forced to shift back to virtual learning, which we learned is absolutely horrible for kids. They do bad. There's a lot of side effects to that. So it's absolutely ridiculous what is going on. And you know what? I really hope, here's what I hope. I hope that soon there's some class action lawsuits that rise up. I really hope that there's employees that say, you know what, maybe all the policemen in New York need to gather together and do a class action lawsuit. You know how many of them are going to lose their pensions? And I know, I worked with police officers. That pension is a big thing to them. They work one of the most stressful jobs on the planet, and they look forward to that pension because it is very, very well deserved. And now you got thousands of officers that are about to lose their pensions because they say, you know what, we don't want to get vaccinated. I've got some comments here. Somebody said here, I recently had to sign a letter at work indicating I'm not vaccinated. I didn't want to do it, but it was a mandatory sign to this letter. You know what's interesting about that, Manny, is that they're not allowed to legally ask, for example, a person if they're HIV positive. They're not allowed to ask that. That's a violation of a person's private medical status. You're not allowed to leave. If you were to ask somebody if they were HIV positive, you'd be sued. Most likely, you're going to lose your job. And you would definitely be front page on the news. So what the problem is all of this. It is the Constitution. It is so sad. The Constitution of the United States has been trampled on and been relegated to an insignificant piece of paper. Why? Because everything now is just done with mandates. Tell me one time where any of this stuff, vaccines, all of this stuff that pertains to COVID has gone through a legislative process to become laws. In fact, it makes me so angry when I hear them say federal law says. It's not federal law. It's federal mandate. A law has to go through a legislative process. We have 3 branches of government for a reason, folks. We have the executive, the judicial, and the legislative, and we have them for a reason. And the reason we have them for is so what's happening now does not happen. That's why we have that. We have the branches in place so what's happening now does not happen. I'll tell you what, I don't know if we'll make it to November 2022 without broken bones and bruises. But if we don't take back the House and the Senate in 2022, just write it off. Write the future off, because these people have lost their ever-loving minds with the things that they are passing and doing. I mean, these are just symptoms of a horrible, horrible power grab and problem. It's just, it's gotten under my skin today. I'm sorry I had to rant and rave, but when you see that happen to a 13-year-old, if that doesn't make you mad, I'm telling you, if it doesn't, anybody out there got a teenager that's 13? How would you feel if your son or daughter came home and said, hey, Mom, here's my vaccination card? What do you mean, son? Oh, yeah, they promised me a pizza if I would get vaccinated. Well, they didn't call me. I'm telling you, that would be a big lawsuit. You know what the biggest problem is? The biggest problem is all of these big pharma companies are protected. You know that, right? They have immunity, so they don't care. They're making money hand over fist. Go look at Moderna and Pfizer's stock. Look at the price of their stock from 2 years ago and look at it now. Of course they're going to want boosters every 6 months. They've found a cash cow. And that cash cow is paid with your health. That's what it is. I'm telling you, folks, if we don't wake up, it's going to be too far gone before we can do something about it. Man, the time flies when you get mad. I'm telling you, it got under my skin today. When are you going to stand up, Mom? When are you going to stand up, Dad? I tell you what, I've had to give up engagements. People wanted me to come, and I just tell them, listen, they're requiring vaccines. I'm just not going. I'm a 45-year-old male. I already got COVID. I've been tested multiple times since I got it. Recently, been tested, come back negative every time. I've been around people with every variant and come back negative every time. So this boy has absolutely no reason to go get jabbed. I got natural immunity, and we got to get some sense back in our brains. God bless y'all. God bless America. Thank you for being on the Ryan Crossley Show today. We'll see you next week. Stay safe out there. Don't just let them get away with everything. You gotta fight for your right. And we'll see you next week right here on the Ryan Crossley Show. God bless you. God bless America. Have a great day.
This is WIPULP, Pembroke Pines, Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale, The Rock Church.
Estás escuchando Radio La Roca.